really like your sneakers, bro. It's exactly the same color. Yeah, we might. So we are really excited to share with you what we've been working on recently. Over the past few months, we've been talking to a lot of non-technical teams: finance, revenue, go-to-market, operations, you name it. And what we keep hearing is that while data and the number of data sources has exploded, their ability to self-serve answers and insights has not so much. They are still heavily dependent on technical teams. Today, we are going to change that. With Arito, teams get a self-serve data platform that allows them to get real-time answers and insights, run deep analysis, and collaborate with their team members in a safe and secure environment. And we want to show you how we are doing that. So the most fundamental thing in Arito is the concept of spaces. We created spaces to solve two big problems. The first one is personalization, and the other one is security. We want to make sure that each team can have their own set of definitions of roles and AI instructions. And we also want to make sure that each space has their own set of data sources, and data from one space is completely separated and air-gapped from other spaces.
Yeah, and we're seeing customers use it in a bunch of different ways.
Sometimes it's just for an individual, say an important meeting someone's working on. Other times it's at the team level, like an FP&A, RevOps, sales, or product marketing team. It's really easy to collaborate. You can invite people to your space from the space homepage and define their edit permissions. That's great for controlling who can change configuration.
Yeah, that's really great, but it still doesn't solve the bigger problem in my mind, which is role-based access control. I mean, we can have executives and members both in the same space, and we want to make sure that each time someone asks a question, they get answers based on their roles and permissions, right?
Totally. And that's why we built the Arito role-based insight engine.
It answers questions based on the combined set of user permissions across all the data sources connected to Arito.
This way, your team gets the full benefit of AI insight and answers without jeopardizing security or privacy to ensure you remain compliant.
And speaking of data sources, they really are the foundation of every space.
Arito can map entire data sources, whether that's a business app like Salesforce or NetSuite, or a data warehouse like Snowflake, Redshift, or BigQuery.
Yeah, but honestly, to me, it seems like everyone's offering that these days. Everyone's claiming they are connecting to these data sources and let users do a bunch of things. And what usually happens at the end is that customers are left explaining every single table and every field in each table to these AI models. And let's be honest, that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, but we do things differently here. Arito doesn't just connect to a data source. It actually maps and contextualizes the data. It even creates and detects implicit connections between these data sources automatically. This is an ongoing process, and Arito keeps enriching the semantic layer as it learns from user interactions. And of course, we let users edit and enrich that semantic layer themselves.
What this architecture gives is a super quick time to value for the customer, so it can be up and running in minutes rather than weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back to these enrichments when we talk about user instructions in more depth.
So we have connected a bunch of data sources. One thing that's really useful in Arito is that users can decide which data sources should be used for a given answer, or they can just let Arito decide. Let's say I want a cash flow forecast, and I want Arito to focus mainly on NetSuite and Salesforce data because that's where the cash-related data is stored. No need to write SQL queries or navigate multiple dashboards. I just write my question in plain English, and Arito walks me through its thinking in real time. It gives me both an executive summary and a detailed explanation.
So there's full transparency and explainability of what Arito is doing behind the scene.
Yeah, I mean, that forecast changes literally with every new data point in Salesforce or NetSuite. I mean, by the time that analysis is done, that forecast might be already out of date, right?
That's so true, especially for fast-growing companies.
That's why we allow users to turn any analysis into a live, self-updating dashboard with just a couple of clicks. Once an analysis is pinned, Arito creates a real-time data pipeline to keep that chart fresh, and it even lets you filter it in all sorts of ways.
Another really cool feature is that you can now chat with your dashboards. Whether you have a follow-up question on a certain graph, or if you want to edit the widget in any way, so the era of static dashboards is definitely over now. When talking to customers, we hear that sometimes they don't fully understand the graph they're seeing, but are hesitant to ask too many questions about it, or don't even have anyone to ask. Or let's say they want to know more and dive deeper than the graph initially shows. With Arito, you can ask as many follow-up questions as you want, privately, and really understand what's going on.
I mean, yeah, and thanks for large language models for that. But when it comes to LLMs, we also hear some concerns. There are two big ones. First one is consistency, and the other one is alignment. And when it comes to consistency, these models are statistical by their nature, so they don't always behave the same way. And businesses need consistency. And when it comes to alignment, how can you make sure that AI models act according to our preferences and our business logic?
Yeah, so for that we've built instructions. You can add as many instructions as you want. They're specific to each space, and Arito decides in real time which instructions are relevant for each task or analysis. In some cases, these instructions actually create virtual fields in our semantic layer.
For example, I can define that strategic accounts are accounts with ARR above $50,000 and that are headquartered in the US. Arito takes that and creates an additional identifier for all accounts in my Salesforce. So next time I want to know what are the main concerns my strategic accounts raised before they churned, I can just ask Arito. It will know exactly what data it needs to retrieve from Go or Zoom calls for this analysis.
This gives you accuracy across all your analysis.
Yeah, that really does solve the alignment problem, but I think it still doesn't really handle the consistency issue. I think one thing that has always been missing for me is that yes, I want these models to give me the exact same answer every time I ask a question, but also I want them to learn. And to me, it seems like these AI and ML models, they never really seem to learn anything, right?
That's exactly why we created one of my favorite features, playtests. The feedback on that has been huge, not just for consistency and reliability, but also for response time and cost.
Let's say I want to calculate ARR, and I need to encode all kinds of business rules. How we define churn, what qualifies as recurring, minimum thresholds, and so on. I can go back and forth with Arito once, refine the logic until I like the answer, and then save it as a playbook. Next time I, or anyone else on my team, asks a similar question, Arito already knows exactly what to do.
I think that's exactly the type of learning that we have always expected from AI models, right?
Yeah. Works like magic.
It does.
It's unbelievably powerful.
It is. And I personally think that can really be a game changer for the industry. So that's what we've been building over the past few months, and we're just getting started. There's a lot more on the way, and we can't wait to share it with you. So stay tuned. Right?
Yeah, and it works like magic.
It does.
It's unbelievably powerful.